Hello everyone, welcome to AMC Rewind, the show which celebrates classic cinema. I'm Alicia Malone, that's John Schnepp.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
We're
here for Rewind.
Okay, well every week we choose a theme. This week, my choice, film noir. I love film noir. It's so beautiful and so seductive. It's a French term which literally means black film. It has roots in the German expressionism of the 20s and 30s, but then became really popular in Hollywood in the 40s and 50s. And I think that's why I love it, because it's so glamorous.
Sure.
But it's really hard to define this one as a genre, isn't it? Because it's more about the look and the style, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, film noir, dark cinema. It's about. It always usually is detective based, trying to find out about a murder or some kind of evil deed that was done and uncovering it slowly to find even more rotten sauce underneath the original sauce that was like baked in sauce, but now rotten sauce. So
I love the men in fedoras and suits and the femme fatales. You know, you don't know whether they'll kiss you or kill you or maybe even both. And then the way it's shot, usually black and white. A lot of shadows.
Venetian blinds.
You
gotta have those Venetian blinds.
Alleyways, nighttime, lots of rain.
Yes.
Sometimes some narration.
Yes, smoke-filled corridors, people in deep shadow walking around. I mean, we go to recent films like Sin City, if you've seen either of the Sin Cities. There's neo-noirs, which are out now, which are color noirs, but they all go back to the original film noirs, which is what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, so we've got two films that Rewind recommends, and they are both quite old. So bear with us, but they're worth watching. So the first one Rewind recommends is Double Indemnity. Now this film is regarded by many as the first true film noir. It's from 1944, directed by Billy Wilder and co-written by Wilder and Raymond Chandler, who was a great detective author. And it stars Fred McMurray as an insurance salesman who is seduced by a housewife played by Barbara Stanwyck, I love her, who wishes her husband were dead. And the double indemnity is a term for when insurance pays double when death is by certain accidental means. And Schnepp, when I was rewatching this one, it felt almost like watching a parody, because it does have all the classic film noir elements, right?
Oh, yeah. It's got all the things that we now see as cliches of film noir, but this was the film that actually was doing it first, made it famous and put it on the map, then everybody copied it, then it became comical. I mean, this has got the fast talking, like, I was driving 55. Oh, what am I, a cop now? You're going to pull me over, this and back. That tears it, like this really quick, fast, snappy patter, this kind of voiceover narration by Fred McMurray, that he's basically shot up in the beginning. He's and his boss is played by James Robinson, another guy who's been in a ton of amazing film noirs, but he's like, Keys, I guess you were right. I should have never listened. You were always right. And I love Keys. Listen, I got a little man in my stomach, and I always know it's an insurance scam because the little man starts screaming at me, and I know I'm right. And even though it feels that I don't believe what they're saying, it's like the little man knows it's different. It's like there's so many of these little things that are in this film that I love.
So great, the dialogue, and like you're saying, the narration. He'll be driving in the car at night with the rain going, I should have told you, Keys, but I just, at the time,
right,
talking over the crime. And like many film noirs, it's mainly about the lead up to the crime than the crime itself.
Yes.
A lot of great elements with the dark story and all those shadows. As I was saying, I love Barbara Stanwyck. I want to be her. She's so beautiful and sexy in this. And the fast dialogue. I don't know how they managed to do that. They barely take a breath.
Speaking of Barbara Stanwyck, Fred McMurray, which most of you probably know as from the TV show My Three Sons, man, was he awesome in this. No one, I guess a lot of people were like, hey, wow, he's great. Cast him as the really honest dad in this TV series,
And here, he's the easily seduced insurance salesman who wears his pants high.
Very high.
Very, very high, but those were the times. This movie was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, but it did not win any. But the thing about it is it's so beautifully crafted that even if you watch it today, and it's been so many years, but it doesn't feel like it at all. It sucks you in, that story.
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic. It stands up to the test of time, though it didn't win any awards. It's one of the films that everyone always talks about, so you should definitely be seeing Double Indemnity if you've never checked it out.
Definitely. Now, Rewind also recommends The Big Sleep, another of my favorite film noirs starring Bogey and Bacall. It's from 1946, directed by Howard Hawks, and the first film version of Raymond Chandler's 1939 novel, Story of a private detective, Philip Marlowe, played by Humphrey Bogart, hired by a general to deal with a blackmailer. He has 2 daughters, the general does, the mysterious and untrustworthy Vivian, played by the gorgeous, late great Lauren Bacall, and the crazy, flirtatious Carmen, you're cute, played by Martha Vickers. This is a really confusing plot, but once again, like with Double Indemnity, it doesn't matter so much the actual crime or getting every step.
Right.
It's the whole mood of the film.
Yeah, I particularly, upon rewatching this, I really liked some of the sequences that had no dialogue. It was just scenes that were setting up scenes that were setting up scenes, and they were really magically directed. Howard Hawks is an amazing director.
He's done every genre.
Yeah, and he really, him and Bogart, just the way he plays Marlowe in this just has that like slightly sinister but like knowing edge to him, where it's like basically every woman in this film falls for him.
Oh yeah,
and this
He's
was
sexy.
like pre-code stuff where they have to just literally imply everything. But man, he's getting some serious action in every scene. It's like it's insane.
I know, every woman falls at his feet, which I think I would too. People often say about Humphrey Bogart that Bogey is tough without a gun. And it's true. And there's some great comedic moments in this, like when he first goes in to the rare bookshop and he disguises himself by flipping up his hat and putting on his glasses and talking in a different way. I think that's such a great moment.
Yeah, hey, so you wouldn't happen to have that Ben-Hur, really rare thing with a bent corner page missing, blah?
From, the 18th compilation of the chick. But Bogart and Bacall together, of course, they made several films. They have this great playful banter together and this really nice romance. Bacall, so beautiful.
Yeah.
So sexy and quite strong is this character too.
Yeah, they play off of each other really well. They have perfect chemistry. So.
And like I was saying, that the plot is so complex. Apparently, Raymond Chandler said, a good mystery is the kind where you don't have to read the end to be satisfied. And I think that's true.
Well, this film has writing credits to all you Star Wars nerds. Lee Brackett wrote this. She also wrote Empire Strikes Back. So it's got some little bit of crossover flavor for all the Star Wars geeks watching this.
So they've got that great film noir kind of dialogue.
Yeah, that George Lucas wanted for the Han Solo, Carrie Fisher back and forth. I want to bring that flavor in there, I think. That's why I got her. So.
And this film, even though it doesn't have all the elements of a film noir in terms of, it doesn't have the narration or the shadows or the flashbacks, but it does have a private detective and lots of rain.
Yes, lots of rain.
Lots of rain for LA.
Yeah, and they definitely like Raymond Chandler loves to give you a place where you're going to be. He says the streets, he sets up the locations, and this happens in Double Indemnity, happens in The Big Sleep as well. You go to specific locations and you return to those specific locations.
And I got to say, it's so much fun rewatching Double Indemnity and The Big Sleep. Now I live here in LA. Yeah, because they mention streets, and I'm
there's tons of streets.
Where that is now.
Yeah, I live right where Raymond Chandler used to write, and he's right off of Cahuenga. So all you stalkers out there. And you know what? Here's something for anyone who has issues with black and white films. I would love to just call to attention, like, you have to think about when you see black and white films that you're like traveling into another dimension. Like, you're seeing films that were made 50 or 60 years ago. And this is something like now we see just how you see is normally in color. But this is a great way to look at media in general, just storytelling in general. That's why a lot of filmmakers like to use black and white. It strips away a lot of pretense and just things that you've taken for granted. It gives you a different way of looking at things.
Makes you focus on certain things. That's the great part about the lighting in film noir.
Yeah.
They can really use shadows to their full advantage.
Yeah. I mean, I think film noirs were made very cheaply, so they used to use that, like, just get a smoke machine and, make sure it's a really cool shadow against a brick wall. And then that just became a motif. And people were like, wow, that looks cool. Hell yeah, and it's cheap, you know? Looks cool and it's cheap.
And we mentioned some more modern day film noirs. You could talk about Sin City, Brick.
Brick is a great modern day film noir. Takes place in high school. Rian Johnson did an amazing tribute to like all the motifs of what goes on in film noirs, but done on like this really fun kind of like crazy high school adventure budget. Hey, I'm in a van, but I've still got Lucas Haas, I think, is playing the kind of creepy drug lord.
And Blade Runner too.
Blade Runner is a
film noir.
beautiful neo-noir.
Neo-noir.
Yeah. There's so many films that are like not even tip of the hat, but basically they're just modern noirs, you know? Harrison Ford is basically a cop on his, doing the beat. He wants to get off the beat. They're like, we're bringing you back. You got to take these guys out. They just happen to be robots,
Discovering the crime.
Yeah.
So I think that's my favorite thing about classic movies is once you watch the classics, then you start seeing the influences in modern day film.
Oh, yeah.
And it's fun. And then you can feel pretentious and say, yeah, I know that.
That's
film
right.
noir.
I would even go so far as to say Citizen Kane is a film noir because it's basically about a guy discovering.
That's true.
It's a case of discovery. This rich person is dead, and they're trying to find out about what
Rosebud.
made him tick and what was Rosebud and what was his real story. What's the hidden story? And it's one of those films also that created so many different cinematic techniques that are now just normal to
Deep
everyone.
focus.
Yeah, all kinds of editing techniques and amazing cinematography. Orson Welles, obviously, everyone's always talking about Orson Welles, but if you haven't seen Citizen Kane, that's just another like nugget of, hey, check it out.
I feel like a lot of people wouldn't have because they wouldn't think it was a good film, but I really enjoyed Citizen Kane when I saw it at film school, and I'm not just saying that to be a snob.
Right.
It's actually a good film.
No, it's
good story.
that's what I'm saying too. It's not like something like, God, I don't want to watch that. It's going to be boring.
Homework.
It's not homework. It's just an amazing film, better than most films that come out every year after year. You're like, I can go back and watch Citizen Kane, and I do. Usually, I see it like every 2 years or something because it's a fantastic film.
All right, well, some other sort of fantastic films in our Rewind
That's right.
Remembers segment where we make you feel old by talking about films which came out about 20 years ago. So D2, The Mighty Ducks, would you believe? That came out over 20 years ago. The sequel to The Mighty Ducks starring Emilio Estevez as a hockey coach who is picked to lead Team USA. So, of course, he reunites the teen team from years earlier. Very realistic. And then Jimmy Hollywood, which is a film I hadn't heard of before, but it's directed by Barry Levinson and stars Joe Pesci as an unemployed actor who, out of boredom, decides to form a vigilante group with his buddy, played by Christian Slater. How awesome does that sound?
It sounds awesome. Another film that I've never seen that Jimmy Hollywood, I don't know, that just, that doesn't really make me feel old. It makes me feel like questiony. Like what was happening when that came out why I didn't hear about it.
Yeah.
D2 is ripe for a remake, but they should just use like CG ducks.
Actual ducks.
Yeah, actual ducks that are rocking out playing hockey. That would be insane.
Well, I remember at school we used to have these screenings occasionally at night, and they'd order pizza and we'd watch a movie. D2 Mighty Ducks was one that they played. I was actually campaigning for classic films because I'm such a nerd. I think I was like, you should have Citizen Kane.
Yeah. Young Alicia Malone, just like this Alicia Malone, only 20 years younger.
Isn't it crazy that now I finally get to tell people about classic films where at school they were just like, shh, we want to watch Mighty Ducks.
Right. It's almost like you're nothing ever changed. We're like, we still have to talk about Mighty Ducks, but it's flipped. We're just like, hey, look at this, but let's talk about the classics.
That's right. So let's get back to the classics with our segment called Rewind Reveals, where we talk about a hidden gem, this time in the film noir genre. This is a great one that you told me about, Kansas City Confidential. Mm-hmm. This came out in 1952, directed by Phil Carlson. It's about 4 robbers who hold up an armored vehicle, all wearing masks so they don't know who each other is. Police suspect an ex-con turned flower delivery truck driver called Joe, and so he decides to go and track down the real criminals to clear his name. Schnepp, this feels very Reservoir Dogs.
It is, and that's one of the reasons I picked it is this is definitely a film that influenced Quentin Tarantino and his film Reservoir Dogs. It's a lot of fun, and it's also a film that my girlfriend Holly Payne, her grandpa is the star. John Payne plays the flower pot guy, the flower delivery guy. Yeah, he gets sucked back into the life of crime. He's embedded with a bunch of criminals, everyone wearing masks, and the way it plays out is really fantastic. It's really like an unappreciated classic, I think. I mean, if you're a film noir fan, you've probably seen Kansas City Confidential, but if you're new to like what we suggested, like Double Indemnity or The Big Sleep, you'll definitely want to check out Kansas City Confidential. It's a really well-directed film, and it's a really fun film too.
Yeah, I had so much fun watching this. I watched it on the plane on my way to New York, and I didn't want the plane to land because I wanted to keep watching it. It's got such a clever conceit, this heist, which now we've seen done many times before. Sure. But at the time, it was actually one of the most violent movies ever made.
Yeah.
And John Payne, he is awesome. It's a low budget film too, so it shows that you don't need a huge budget to make a good film. You just have to have a really good story. And now it's actually in the public domain.
Right.
Which means you can watch it for free.
Yeah, it's available. It's also got some other incredible actors. Jack Elam plays one of the shifty-eyed kind of guy who's like, And I believe Lee Van Cleef also plays one of the villains.
Yeah.
So it's got some really good character actors rocking it out. And, of course, John Payne from Miracle on 34th Street. If you've never seen that, this is his playing, once again, kind of a hero stuck in the middle of this bad situation. So he's a great actor, and it's really fun to see him in a great film noir.
Because he started out as a bit of a song and dance man.
Yes, he did. Yeah, his whole family. So it's sort of like one of those things where, he got really later well known as a Western cowboy actor on a TV show. But he was in a lot of film noirs as well. So
that's awesome. I had so much fun watching Kansas City Confidential. So everyone, make sure you watch Double Indemnity, The Big Sleep, Mighty Ducks, and Kansas City Confidential, and tweet us and let us know what you think of these films, because I love hearing when people discover these movies and then they go, oh my God, I really enjoyed it. Or if you hate it too, you can tell us. Schnepp, where do people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram, just at John Schnepp and at TDOSLWH.
And you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Alicia Malone. That does it for another AMC Rewind. See you next time.
Sounds like a bunch of ducks. Mighty Ducks.
Hey everyone, if you liked this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC movie talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.